While everyone's distracted right now with the typical crypto stuff of, hey, my altcoin 2x, what did yours do? My altcoin's better than yours because of this reason. Let's not kid ourselves and let's get back on track and let's focus on the bigger picture. For those who haven't been around for a bull run or multiple bull runs, you've now had a taste of what is going to be coming in the next 2 years, right? This is only a mere taste. And so you know it's real. You know all the stories are real. Crypto is a way in which we can make a lot of money very, very quickly. But again, let's not kid ourselves. Let's focus on the most important part, bar none, probably apart from actually making the trade on buying the altcoin itself, that will make us wealthy. That literally is the most important part of anyone's crypto journey. And I say that wholeheartedly with years of experience in this market now, okay? And again, it's something that people don't want to talk about right now because they're all built up on this sort of hype train. Now, not doing this, missing this, what is this going to do? Well, you're going to be someone who leaves the bull run, and I'm going to show you an example here in a second, that leaves with less profit than you desire or leaves in a worse position than you're entering, even being years and years early like we are right now. I saw it time and time again in the last bull run. I have a personal story to tell you all from a friend of mine that is in a situation that you will find many of you are in as well if you do not listen to my advice. You don't have to take it, at least absorb it, and then make your own opinions and decisions based on that, of course. So what is it? Well, if you think about it, guys, what is the way in which you make money from crypto? What's the most important part? It's not telling your friends and family, hey, I'm 100x up right now on my altcoins. It's not looking at a screen and saying, hey, look how green my altcoin is. No, it's none of that shit. It's no paper gains, it's none of that. It's actual cold hard cash in your wallet, right? It's actually having made the money to then be able to brag, right? And how do you make money? Well, it's pretty simple, right? Exit strategies. Now, I'm not going to run through the be all and end all exit strategy in this video. I've actually got a course coming out on November 24th, Black Friday. You guys absolutely need to look at that. I'm going to show you some extracts from that course in this video just to prove a point here, but I'm going to show you more so a very wide open lens into why it's important we assess this now for 2025. And you can damn well bet all your money I'm going to be making more videos on this topic as we progress through the bull market as well. It's something that I'm telling you right now, if you're new to the space, and even if you are new, or even if you're old rather, you're someone who needs to absolutely revisit this and listen to this, right? So this meme, I think, covers most of the market in this case, what people generally think about this topic, right? Selling, I'll worry about that when I 50x. And that was definitely the mentality I had in the last bull run myself. Then you have the guys who think that they know what they're talking about, right? So you must think about this ahead of time, reinvest back into Bitcoin, okay? All this sort of superficial crypto bro mentality. Then you have the people who've lived through the bull run, lived through the experiences, and what do they say? Well, it's what I'm going to say, right? Organizing your exit plan early allows you to mold your strategy to the bull run's performance, knowing your profits along the way. That's going to make more sense through the whole video. Now, I'm going to suggest you guys hit the like button, of course, the minute that you go, this is definitely worth my time. So I'm going to start off with a tweet recently here from that Martini guy. He had a thread on, some of his experiences in crypto and things like that. Now, he's been around for a lot longer than me. I think he's been around for over 10 years in this space now. But he said something that is quite concerning, all right? So he said in this first tweet about taking profit correctly that he invested in Matic, he invested 40K at 1 cent. Now, he never took profit on the way up because he believed in his fundamental analysis, watched the network grow, and then he ended up selling at 264. Made a huge profit on that, right? Unimaginable money. But he's basing all that on his fundamental analysis. And unfortunately, for the most part, fundamental analysis is a load of dog shit, right? And I know a lot of you people watching this are going to hear that and go, what is he talking about? He talks about fundamental analysis. Yes. But I'm considering right now the fundamental analysis you might think is important, likely isn't. And that's coming from someone with thousands of hours of research. So I'm saying, do not do that. Do not trust yourself, or most importantly, random amounts of influencers to gain a consensus on what you think is important, because chances are you're probably wrong. And if you do that, you're going to be holding your tokens for perpetuity, right? But he clarified things down here, and this is kind of what I'm getting at, right? He then said, ladder, take your profit, right? If you don't do this, you'll end up panic selling on the price crashes and make way less money. So he gave an example over here. So he's got this hyperbolic example with Matic. And then he also said that it's a double-edged sword because he did the same thing with Multiverse X. He invested at $6, rode it up to 660, so that's like over 100x. And then he ended up not selling, thinking it was going to go higher, and then he rode it back down to $20. So basically, he literally only like 3x'd, and he could have over 100x. So that is likely going to happen to you, and statistically, it is going to happen to you. So this is extremely important, but I'm not just going to, again, show you guys an exit plan today. I'm going to give you things on why it's important to stake your tokens and how this all looks when it's charted, so you can actually visualize it, so you can tell your friends and your family, and you can go and do it. Now, I'll tell you right now from experience, when I plotted some of these things when I was making my courses, you know, I was like to myself, holy shit, like I knew this, but when you actually plot it and visualize it, it adds a whole new dimension to why it's so important, and you're going to see why in just a minute here. So this is the exact situation that happened to me and actually my friend, more importantly, in the last bull run. We bought Veracity nice and early. It was obviously my call. He's less, interested in crypto than I am. And we called it down here. We bought the dip, and ultimately we ended up writing it up. So we bought it about 1.7 cents. We rode all the way up to 8 cents. On the way, we definitely thought we were gods. He would come over to my place. We'd sit down on our computers, our laptops. We'd pull up absolutely bogus charts. We'd pull up absolutely bogus fundamental analysis. We'd sit there and we'd think, oh my God, we are the shit. Look, we're making hundreds of dollars every single day. This shit's so easy. And we didn't want to take profit because we were like, this thing's just going to continually go up, just like the Martini guy, right? We thought our FA, our fundamental analysis, was on par with the best, right? Well, we didn't sell because we thought it was going to go higher. So we had a potential 5x on the table. Now, mind you, we put about $4,000 in each. Now, for us, especially back then, $4,000 turn, 5xing is a lot of damn money. That's like what, 20, 30K, let's just roughly say here, on the table. That's sitting right in front of your face. So you can imagine having that from 4K going like, if I sell out, you could reinvest that money into whatever. We didn't. And of course, what happened? Well, I panic sold 50% down here, just like the Martini guy, just like Multiverse X. I only got not even a 1x, not even a 2x out of it. I got 90% gain on that, right? Barely anything. Well, it's still good, but still barely anything for holding during this whole entire period, about a year period, right? And he actually still holds to this day, right? I hold half of my bag on that, and he holds all of his bag, and it's now worth like a few $100s, right? So it's definitely not worth it. And you will obviously come out of the bull run a lot worse than what you entered. And yes, that will happen to majority of you if you don't listen to this. Simple as that, right? So before we start breaking it down, I give you guys what you actually have to do here. Again, I've got a whole course on this. I'm not going to give you guys all the deep information. I'm expecting you to, if you want this enough, you'll go ahead and do it, right? So HODL, the diamond hand strategy. You guys see me wear the HODL shirt sometimes, and I don't mean that in this sense. I mean it in the sense of holding it for a couple of years, because you'll see, in the example of Hedera HBAR, if you bought $1,000 today, right? You bought 20,000 HBAR at 5 cents, and you pass the 2025 bull run, you don't sell, and you hold till 2030 because prices are going to be so much more. They're going to be 10 times more than what they were in 2025, at this point in time. Well, if you're right, if it does go to $15, holy shit, look at this. That's a 300x. You've turned $1,000 into $300,000. That's definitely a situation where we want to go to the bar and cling some beers. But ultimately, what happens? Well, once you take tax out, that's about $50,000, right? That's, you separate your capital gains. That's roughly, not for all jurisdictions, but most. So you turn 1,000 to 250K. That's pretty good after tax, right? But that's a horrible strategy. And anyone telling you to do this, and again, it's okay if you initially believe this, because I did once upon a time as well. They're fundamentally wrong. The math does not work out. Now, here's the strategy. This is not what I'm going to tell you guys to do. And again, none of this is financial advice, but this is kind of meeting halfway in the middle here. This is a situation where we're compounding our gains. So the same situation, all right? We have $1,000, we buy 20,000 tokens, we're at 5 cents a pop, right, today, right? Well, if this 20x's, right, and we ended up selling at $1, right? We don't do any exit levels. We just sell all at one time, and we go, all right, we're just going to sell a 20x, we're going to keep it nice and easy, right? It's still dangerous, but we're very confident in that, and it works out, right? Let's just say we end up selling 18,000 tokens at $1, but we decide, okay, well, I still want to keep 2,000 tokens because I bought so cheap at 5 cents for the long term. That thinking kind of makes sense. Again, just like back up here, you're buying cheaper while it's going to be more expensive over here. So that ROI, it's going to be like a lot more than what it would be if you sell and buy back on a low. You'd think so, right? So in this case, we have 18,000 tokens because we sold, majority of our portfolio to make $18,000 at $1. And we have the 2,000 HBAR we still hold. Well, 2028 rather comes around and HBAR's price is 25 cents. So we're pretty much at the same point in the bear market we are now in 5 years. And so what do we do? Well, we decide to save $5,000 of this $18,000 for tax and bills, and we have $13,000 left over. So we buy as much HBAR at 25 cents and we get $52,000. So what I'm trying to say here is ultimately when we decide to sell in 2030, we have the 52,000 tokens we bought in that 2028 bear market, plus the 2,000 tokens that we're still holding from way back over here right now in 2023. And that's a total of 54,000 tokens, right? Now, I've reducted the price over here because, again, you may very well fall victim to the, oh my God, it's going to keep going up. It doesn't, so you sell at a much lower price, right? Because we are, again, remembering that we aren't creating an exit plan in this situation. We are just trying to time the top, like many of you likely are. You're going to try to time the top. You're going to say, and I've been on many calls with subscribers, and I've really encouraged them to, when they say to me, Kyron, I'm just going to look at a 10x, nothing more than a 10x or nothing more than a 20x. Trust me, man, that's it. I just take my money and run. I know from experience, I know from working with people and being around people, and myself included, that when it comes time for a bull run, your emotions are going to just take you by the balls and just take you any direction they want, right? You're their bitch, basically. And if you ultimately let that happen, you will lose. You will lose. Some of you are going to get lucky. Some of you are going to be really good and time the top or get, just before the top, which is great. But again, exit plans are where it needs to be, right? And so ultimately, again, this is the situation I'm roughly playing out here. So you might 40x. So again, you're 20xing, you're selling, you're 40xing, you're selling. Ultimately, you end up after tax with 470K. So you're smashing this guy over here. You absolutely destroyed the hodler, the pure hodler. All right, that makes no sense to do that, but you still could optimize your gains because you had 2,000 HBAR you decided to hold for the long term. Again, that means absolutely nothing because this 2,000 HBAR is still 2,000 HBAR. Right? If you sold all of this over here, you would end up with more HBAR to then be able to buy back. So this person over here does exactly that, but this person over here is even smarter because this person in the same situation sets up multiple sell orders on the way up. They don't care if it hits early. They don't care if any of that happens because they know, again, what I'm going to show you guys in a minute here, exactly how much money they take out of the market at those points. So this person sells an average of $1.50. Now, some of you might be thinking to yourself, Kyron, well, why would you just make it $1.50? Obviously, it's going to be more if you increase the price. Yeah, I agree. But this still comes out a lot more ahead, even if you match the same prices as this person. So essentially, the same situation plays out. You end up with $30,000 because you're selling all 20,000 tokens. Over here, of course, you end up able to buy more HBAR, saving $7,000 for tax and things like that. And ultimately, you end up with 92,000 HBAR at the end. We're looking for the amount of tokens you have at the end, not what price you bought in at. The price you bought in at just simply means you can buy more tokens with less capital. That's all that means. That's literally all it means. So you're looking here to do that, but then also capitalize in the short term to then reinvest. Now, whether you reinvest into the HBAR over here or a Polkadot, or you don't reinvest in any cryptocurrency, you might want to buy stocks, bonds, or even real estate. That's up to you, but you still end up with more capital, no matter the situation, even after tax. So it's a very simple thing. Again, you might want to make this $1 and $10 just to have a clean example with this. But what I'm trying to get at with this is, with an exit plan, you are likely going to have, again, staggering your sales, more of a chance to make higher returns in a safer way. It's as simple as that, okay? So here's the example straight out from my exit course. Now, I've got 3 courses. The bundle on November the 24th will be available for you guys at a huge discount because it is, of course, Black Friday. I'm just going to extract a couple things out of this course because, again, a lot of it is going to be for you guys to listen to. But this is why it's important to, again, factor in inflation, right? So you must stake. Now, again, this is all going to tie in towards the end. You have 2 people here, person A, person B. Now, they both buy 10,000 tokens at $1 each. So they pretty much spend $10,000, right? Well, the person A over here, what happens? Well, there's a 10% year-on-year inflation with the network. And a lot of networks have this. It's very, very normal, but you guys mightn't think anything of it. Well, unfortunately, after 2 years, this person still has 10,000 tokens, right? Now, considering the price doesn't go up at all, we will look at an example in a second factoring in that, but this person actually has, at purchasing power, $2,000-ish less. Now, that doesn't mean too much because in a bull run, 1 month later, for example, prices go up. Everyone's like, oh, it doesn't really matter because it's a bull run. Well, that's true. It doesn't really matter negatively purchasing power we're talking about in a bull run, but what really does matter in this case, as we'll see in a second, is how much tokens you can sell, because you will very much be way off, because it's very important looking at this sort of example over here. looking at a certain price, thinking to yourself, that price is going to hit. But if the network has a lot of inflation, that price may never, ever hit, and you may be kidding yourself. Person B, what do? Well, they stake, and that might be 15% staking in the network. Well, in this case, you end up with 13,225 tokens after 2 years. Again, you have the inflation, and then you have the staking rewards as well. So it balances out, it's like 5% gain year on year, basically, and you end up with this many tokens. 1 month into the bull run, ultimately the end goal here is you have 13,225. So you have 3,225 tokens more. And again, a token isn't nominal. A token isn't just something that's stuck to a certain price. In this case, a token is something that will fluctuate. Will go up, yes, it'll go down, but it'll go up. It's just like holding an asset, right? The asset will appreciate, therefore holding it, at least accumulating more, is more important than this guy over here, right? Because then you have more tokens to then appreciate, right? So simply person A. Now, this is a real life example. This is all the math is done for you. And I just want to show you because I don't see anyone else talking about the importance. And when I actually mapped this out, I just made sure all my tokens on my personal accounts were staked straight away. So person A over here, expectation of $10, right? They're expecting, again, the same situation, $10,000 they spend at a $1 token price to buy 10,000 tokens. Again, this is just the year-on-year inflation of 10%. They're expecting the price to reach $10 to make $100,000. Very simple. They're just expecting a 10x, right? Well, in reality, because of this inflation, what actually happens is the network itself, again, given the same situation, given the same market appeal, given the same amount of market cap invested, capital invested overall in the project, the price will in reality actually only hit $8.26. Now, this person in that case will only be making $82,600 if they even sell, like I mentioned here. At this point, they're still expecting the price to hit $10 because they're not factoring in inflation. So you can see how negative, the detrimental effect in this case, because this person, well, again, guys, they're like over almost $2 off, over $1.50 off. So again, this is where you can get left hoping. And then just like that Martini guy said, you end up selling way down here because you grossly underestimated it. Then you start blaming the network for not being as amazing as what you thought. In reality, it's just inflation kicking you in the ass, right? So this person over here, person B, well, in this case, same thing, right? They're expecting $100,000 at $10, but in reality, it sinks down at $8.26 because of the inflation, but they stake. And because they stake, again, just getting a net positive 5% year-on-year inflation, they actually end up with $109,000 at $8.26. So in their head, they're thinking, hey, price is $8.26. Oh my God, I'm actually $10,000 over what I wanted revenue here. So I'm going to take my money out. And they've made $9,000 plus. They've profited basically $100,000 at this stage, right? And then of course down here, in reality, like if they were playing it safe, this is where we'll talk about exits in a minute here. If they were smart and they were playing it safe and they projected this, which is what I'm suggesting you to do here, they look at the $7.50 level as actually getting their desired target, their 10x, because the 10x is no longer $10. The 10x now becomes $7.50, even though the price is only appreciated 7.5x. Does that make sense? It's very, very, very important you stake your tokens because then you can bring down that, what we're going to call average price, right? The average expected price down, which is one, much more obtainable, right? Because it's easier for the market to hit a cheaper price than it is a higher price, just general market cap. And two, again, it's much safer for you, right? It's just overall better. And again, if they wanted to, they could actually sell at the realistic level here and make more money, right? So that's very important. That came right out of my course. So guys, it's very important you pay attention to this. And again, when I worked this out, I staked my tokens, all of them straight away, made sure they were. Now, this is quickly why percentages matter. Now, this is something that a lot of you will overlook. And again, this came out of my course as well. It's considering something called the weighted average. So your weighted average, which is the price you actually dollar cost average out of, may be completely different to what you want if you panic sell or get greedy during a bull run, even if you plan your sell level. So, okay, factoring in this, let's say you decide to credit an exit plan, right? And you start selling the levels, again, finding in the average, you're like, okay, sweet, $7.50, sell a little bit above, a little bit below, that's fine, it'll average out to that level. That's sweet, that's great. But what percentage of your portfolio are you selling at these levels? It's very important because a goal is at 10x in this case, right? You have two different situations. You might want to be someone who takes your initial investment out, all right? But in this case, doing that, the weighted average will be reduced. And the weighted average, again, is pretty much the average price you're selling, but we coined the term weighted average based on the percentages, right? So you have these levels, sell, 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 from $1 to $2, right? But the weighted average is going to be the average of those levels based on the percentages. We'll look at this in a second here. So in this case, it's $1 because we have our initial investment taken out at a 2.5x from when we bought our tokens at 10 cents. So, price goes from 10 cents to 25 cents, 2.5x's. We take our initial $1,000 we invested over here out, and then the rest we let us sell up to our weighted average of $1. But you see, we're getting a weighted average of $1, but we're selling literally like 1,200 tokens, a large chunk of our portfolio, at double that. So you're telling me, for example, with like Quant, right? If you're looking at a sell price of $2,000, you're telling me you have to sell at $4,000 to reach that? You can see why the initial investment level can be dangerous, right? It also will depend on where you put it, of course. But what we can also do is look at something without the initial investment, without taking out our cost basis initially, right? Instead of taking out our $1,000 out of safety net, let's just work out our revenue and then take the profit out later from the cost basis. And you can see our initial weighted average goes up, right? We can even start selling way lower, right? Instead of selling at $1 up to $2, we can start selling at 50 cents way up to $2 still, but our weighted average has literally increased by 25% to $1.25. So in this case, we turned $1,000 into $9,000. Let me just get my pen out here for you guys because I think it's pretty important, right? So we made 9,000 profit. Technically, it was a 10x because that's the profit, right? And then 1,000 actually we 12x'd over here because we made $11,000 profit. So you can see the immediate difference, of course. But wait, there's more, okay? That's just talking about whether you want to add in your initial investment or not. But what we actually have to factor in as well is what happens if you start moving the percentages around, because this is where the weighted average will really change, okay? And again, this is what people don't think of. They think, oh, I'm just going to set all these different sell levels and I'm just going to sell random percentages at each level. That's dangerous because, again, the weighted average will move to a level you don't expect it to be at. Therefore, you don't hit your price target. Very simple, okay? So in this case, the same situation, but instead of selling 1,200 tokens up here, nice and even, we're taking 50% off the table over here, and we're adding that down here, okay? And you can see we were before selling 1,200 tokens nice and even up here, and you can see what it did to the weighted average, right? It brought it down from $1 down to 94 cents, okay? Very big difference. And again, if you're someone doing this without realizing it, you're actually getting out at a worse opportunity. Now, this is, again, a very plain example. This is going to be a lot worse in situations where you have a lot more sell levels and you're moving much larger percentages around. So in this case, we're actually reducing our multiples by 1x. So that can be quite detrimental for you, again, if you're waiting for a certain level to hit or a certain amount of profit to be reached. And in this example, the same situation, we just took off 50% off the top. So instead of selling 1,400 tokens at each level, we're now selling half at the top, selling 50%, and we're adding this to the very, very bottom level down here. So again, what this does is bring the weighted average from, as you can see, $1.25 down to $1.12. Again, big differences. And again, this brings it down 1x. So this is why it's imperative we consider our percentages as well as the prices we sell at. Yes, picking the right price is important, but again, if you start tinkering around, again, the bull run comes around and you're like, well, I'm going to add a whole bunch more to the top or a whole bunch more to the bottom because I'm scared. Even though you might sell the same sell levels, the weighted average now is going to move because of that and quite dramatically at that, right? So to find weighted average, it's simply the revenue, not profit, the revenue. So if you're following the initial investment level, you have to, of course, factor in your sell tokens, right? The initial profit, the initial cost basis rather, and then divided by the number of tokens you invested in. In this case, we bought 10,000 tokens, right, at each situation. So we divide the revenue by the total tokens of 10,000, and that'll give you a price, and that price is your weighted average. So make sure that weighted average price is the price in which you want it to be. And so the answer to all of this, what we're getting at here is what we have to focus on in this bull run, and what the most important part is combining all of this into one. So what you want to do is sell all your money in 2025 to capitalize on the next bear market lows and then buy back for the long term, or again, in other sort of, asset markets as well. You want to also factor in inflation, and if you can, generate more revenue so you can sell at an even more obtainable or safer lower level. And at that safer lower level, you want to make sure that you're definitely hitting that with your weighted averages, okay? You want to make sure that when you're selling, so in this example over here with NIA, you are selling again at a level or levels and percentages in which you can obtain a level that you want, okay? And again, the level that you want will dictate how much total money you want out of the market. In this case, we are averaging out at $23.50, so around about here, okay? So again, you might want to make, top level 20%, the rest of the levels 10%, depending on how many sell levels you have. It's very, very important. And again, this gave you a very important overview, guys. But please, again, I'm not trying to push you guys the course. I'm just trying to say, look, if you're someone who's wanting to risk yourself going through this next bull run and playing the cards yourself and trying to learn it all yourself, that's fine. Go for it. I'm not going to stop you. But if you're someone who wants to cut all the BS out and just get straight to the point and know exactly what to do, then the course will be available on November the 24th. And please, at least just consider this information, right? Spread it to friends and family. And again, like the video if you have enjoyed. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Take care. All the best for 2025, and I'll catch you all soon.